so much for being here today, sir. Today we have with us Mr. Ranveer Brar, who is a very well-known name in. I don't know what you're doing if you don't know who he is. Mr. Ranveer Brar is a very famous chef. He was born in Lucknow, and the way he started loving and became fond of food was when he was just like a normal boy like the rest of us, but he used to go to the gurdwara with his family and started spending time where the langar was made, and then he became fond of grilled food. And the first thing, and I think that's the best thing he's learned, was the art of making kebabs, and he learned it when he was still living in Lucknow under Mr. Munir Ustad. And then only at 17, which is very young, he left Lucknow to pursue his passion and studied at the Institute of Hotel Management. And at 25, he was the youngest executive chef ever in the world to ever work with a 5-star hotel in India. He's also, along with his many numerous entertaining TV shows that he hosts, he's also written a book of his own that's called Come Into My Kitchen. He travels around the world getting to know other cultures and enhancing their food and just cooking and enjoying himself. So I think the special thing about Mr. Brar is that all his shows, he and his YouTube channel, it's not always just a recipe. With that recipe, you get to learn so much more about the culture. It's always like a story he's telling. It's more than a recipe, and I think that's the best part. Also, I think some of his most memorable work is the 6 seasons of MasterChef India that he was the judge on. Anyways, it's such an entertaining show, and sir just made it more entertaining to watch. Thank you so much, sir, for doing this. I'm very excited to talk to you.
Pleasure. It's a pleasure being here. There is one quick correction. I was the youngest executive chef in India at that time. I'm not really sure world, but yes, India for sure.
It's still fantastic. Only at 25. That's amazing. So my first question to you is, it's very subjective answer. How would you define success? According to you, how would you say, okay, this is what it means?
See, success is a constant journey of happiness, Pratna. That's how I see it. If every day you wake up happy and you go to sleep happy, and you manage to do that continuously, then that's what success is for me. Success is doing what you've always wanted to do, doing stuff that makes you happy, and that. And that's what I say. It's not about getting somewhere. Success is never about getting somewhere and say, in my wardrobe, this is what I've written, and when I get there, I'll be successful. What after that? You'll get there, guaranteed. Everybody in the world is equipped to achieve goals, but what then? I think for me, success is the ability to wake up happy, go to sleep happy, and just do what you've always wanted to do.
Yeah, I think, definitely the journey is more important than the destination. You make more memories, enjoy yourself. That's why you're learning everything. So I think that's definitely the more important part. So, sir, according to you, what do you think are the most important qualities of a good food and beverage professional?
I think bigger, in terms of bigger values, selflessness is a big value if you want to be a good food and beverage personnel, because while you're using your skill, you're not using it for yourself, you're using it for somebody else. You need to be able to put the other person first, always. I think that's something that's really, really important. In terms of other values, I say the happiness, happiness of service. Sometimes you just feel great about doing stuff for others. I think that is another value that needs to be a part of it. Now, value systems are very deep-rooted. Qualities can be inculcated. Value systems take time to develop. So while in terms of values, I say, happiness when you serve and selflessness are key values. In terms of qualities, I think appreciation of detail is a very important quality that you need to have as a food and beverage person. Food and beverage is all about detail, the nuances of flavor, the sense of wine, the deeper and detailed, whether it is details of the environment or you're eating, details of the food. God truly lies in details when it comes to food and beverage. So being detail oriented is a very, very important quality. In terms of other qualities, I always say, if you are a food and beverage personnel, communication is key. Communication is you have to have a communicating strong suit. If you are a food and beverage personnel, typically, because it's not just about what you want to say. It's about how you say it.
Yeah.
And that is really, really important. And I always say, whether it's chefs or restaurant managers, food and beverage alike, we need to. Communication needs to be an extremely important strong suit. In terms of other qualities, I would say, the ability to work together. That's really, really important, because while you see only the chef or the maitre d' or the restaurant manager, a lot of people are working behind the scenes, and to be able to work with them is key. It's really very important.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sure to run a restaurant, it takes a whole team in the kitchen. It's just you're just seeing the final product.
Yep.
So your career is one where you always, constantly have to be very innovative, think of new ideas. So how are you constantly, coming up with new ideas and brainstorming? Like, how do you constantly push yourself to remain creative?
I think it's the biggest fight that all of us have. The biggest fight that all of us have with each other, with ourselves, is how to keep yourself from falling into a lull. Because our natural tendency is templation. Our natural tendency is that we create a template and we say, this is working, let's stick to it. How do you take risks of trying to change what's working to make it even better? I think that's very, very important. In this business, it's very important not to be templated. It's very important to take risks, and it's very important to be ready to fail.
Yeah, definitely. I think yeah, because it's a job where you constantly have to be creative. So you have to take that risk to ensure you're creative.
Yep.
So now this is a rather interesting question. I'd say, if you had to choose just one meal to eat every single day for the rest of your life, what would it be? Just that, you can't eat anything else.
It'd be a khichdi. I feel very, very. I think dal and chawal together is sort of the pillar of food combinations. It's the pillar of our ancestry. It's the pillar of our culture. It's also complete nourishment. Other than that, I just feel that the simpler the food, the more you focus on detail, the more it's like listening to metal versus listening to classical, right? Metal, you have a lot to think about, but you're never at one place.
Yeah.
Classical, you can be at one place and focus on what's happening, and that's the difference. For me, khichdi is classical, and what you eat in most restaurants is metal.
I expected a much different answer than the khichdi is probably the simplest thing.
Yeah.
Simplest dish. So obviously you have a very exciting career, exciting life. So what do you think is your most memorable memory from doing this, from being a chef?
I think there are many memories, but I think most is going to be unfair to a lot of the other memories. But I think the ability to feed large crowds, ability to go to orphanages, set up a stove and cook, even if it's for a TV show, your your heart's in the right place. You're doing it for them. I think the ability to just prop up and cook for people who appreciate it, it's a very powerful gift. Food is a giver, and when it shows up in spaces like that, it's very gratifying.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking someone's hunger away and feeding them.
Absolutely, and making them happy. There's no better joy than the joy of food.
Yeah, and it's something that everyone needs, something that will make everyone happy. So where do you see yourself in the next 10 years in your career?
I don't know if I'll even be a chef. I don't know if I think I've never really led my life like that. I've never really led my life. I think you lose the beauty of the plots and the twists and turns if you create a very straitjacket plan. I think you need to. What I have learned is you need to have the right frame of mind and always chase happiness and do what you really want to do, and things show up. For me in my life, things have always just showed up.
Yeah, go with the flow.
Yeah,
it'll come when it has to. So, like I said, for me, I think your most enjoyable work was MasterChef, because personally, I grew up watching, like, every night 8:30 p.m. I used to sit and I used to watch every single episode of MasterChef. So I have a very personal attachment to that show. So I wanted to ask you, what is like the craziest, most fun thing that has ever happened on the sets of MasterChef?
I think most fun stuff that usually happens off camera, and it always happens between the judges, unfortunately, and you don't get to see that, and it's so sad. But I think we Vikas and Vineet and I have done a lot of crazy stuff. We've when the camera used to be off, we enjoyed sneaking into the pantry to steal snacks. We could have asked the crew for it, and they would have gotten it for us. But we just enjoyed that 10-minute break where we used to sneak in. Somebody used to grab nuts, somebody used to grab fruits, somebody used to grab cranberries, and we used to do our own trail mix and eat. So I think those are the moments that you really, really enjoy. It allows. I always say every season of MasterChef takes off a couple of years from your life. It just makes you feeling happier, looking younger. I always tell Vikas that's the secret of your perennial youth. You keep doing these seasons of MasterChef, which keep making you laugh and keep making you younger.
Yeah, I mean, it looks so entertaining on camera. I can't imagine the fun that goes on off camera. So obviously you wrote a book, and which is obviously very huge accomplishment. So what was the best part of the journey of being an author?
I think what I realized when I wrote the book was that there's no difference between how I write and how I speak. I believe in the spoken word so much that even when I'm writing, it's like I'm talking to you. And what that book sort of gave me an insight was that's my way of communicating. The medium doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether I'm communicating on paper or on camera or by a direct conversation with you. So वो जो चीज़ है, I think it was very, very enlightening, and it just gave it chiseled my perception about myself a lot more. That conversational style of writing, and to be able to write and think of yourself as a third person is very powerful. And because an initial bit of the book had my growing up, and sometimes when you're looking at yourself growing up and writing, then you look at yourself in the third person, and it's a very powerful gift to be able to step back and look at yourself in the third person, because then you're free of all judgments and bias that creeps in, because this story is your story. So that was nice.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because you're just looking at it as if it's someone else, and you're
Yeah.
just with a clear mind looking at your own story. That's so cool. So who is the one person in this, like, celebrity, like, or not even celebrity, anyone who you look up to, dead or alive, who you would choose to have a meal with, and why?
So my grandmother passed away when I was like very early, when I was like I think 10 years old. But she's had a very deep influence even till date. I always, when I cook, I think of her. I always sense her presence when I'm cooking, and that's something that's very very powerful for me. It just gives me a lot of courage. It gives me a lot of uh, ठहराव बोलते हैं ना हम लोग. It gives me a lot of ठहराव on the stove. It gives me a lot of faith and happiness. And I just want to be able to just cook for her once, to say, hey, you know what? That 6-year-old boy that you used to cook for on that chula is doing the same thing, and all he's doing is most of the time thinking about you.
That's so lovely. I'm sure she would really enjoy your food. So, sir, obviously you traveled a lot to host a lot of the shows that you are on. So, out of all this travel and your trip to Australia and all, what's like the one thing that stands out from those trips, from experiencing these different cultures to you?
I think if I had to sum it all up, I would say that there's no country in India, if you really want to travel, and if you're a cultural explorer, if you're a culture explorer, there are so many microcultures with so much detail in our country that's impossible to sort of find that anywhere across the world. Maybe China, for the age and the depth of the culture that they've enjoyed. But I think that's the moral of the story that I've realized, that I am a culture. I feed on culture. I try and derive food from culture, and there's no country like ours to be able to, just soak in cultures.
Yeah, I agree. I think the best part of our country is the diversity. Each state is a country of its own. It's
Yeah.
like a whole new world, new
Yeah.
language.
Diversity and detail. And detail. Yes,
Yeah,
everything is old. All those smallest of cultures are like thousands of years old,
yeah,
So there's so much detail and strength and character.
definitely. I agree. I mean, I can't think of a single other country that has so many endless cuisines, festivals, languages. The diversity in our country is insane.
Absolutely.
So, what if you had to give a piece of advice to your 15-year-old self? If you had to tell yourself one thing when you were 15, what would you tell yourself?
I would say, hey, you know what? Don't listen to that 42-year-old guy telling you whatever he's telling you. I think I would learn from that 15-year-old. After an age, like I said, templation sets in, ease sets in, analysis sets in, reason sets in. At 15, you're unreasonable. You're intuitive. You listen to your gut and do things. You're much more in sync with what's coming from here. What you do is who you are mostly, and that's something that you have to learn from, not teach back to.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think at 15 we're just very worried about what will happen, but then it works out for everyone.
It does, and I always say there is. We are the ones who set limits to our aspirations, to what is available, and to how much we can achieve. Nobody sets those limits but ourselves.
Yeah.
And 15 is the age to be unreasonable and say, I can get it all. I can achieve it all. It's just the time to be unreasonable.
Yeah. So like when you're just having a normal chill day at home, what is your favorite like go-to dish to cook?
So I don't. I mean, I'm off late. I started cooking a lot of seasonal veggies. Off late, I started cooking a lot of ghar ki sabzi. Nothing fancy, and I really enjoy it. Like today, I cooked
something special in that. Yeah.
Matlab, I like for lunch. I said I'm going to cook. I cooked shalgam, gobi, gajar. Winter stuff that you miss, stuff that is in season. It really gives me a lot of peace. Cooking seasonal produce in the right season that's fresh, looking at you and smiling, gives me a lot of peace.
Yeah, I think if you're a chef, I think the beauty of it is, just those simple meals that you can cook, but in more than all the fancy things, those are great too, but like on a daily basis, you're not going to eat a 6-course meal every day. Yeah. So while we're on the same path, what would your piece of advice be to young aspiring chefs?
I'd say it'll be a little few nuggets, more than just one piece of advice. I would want to take the opportunity and throw in a few nuggets.
Yes, definitely.
I think one definitely is, like I said, that it is a process. It's a process. It takes time. Have the patience. I know we are living in times where things are fast, where you get things easy. Cooking's different. It takes time. It takes time for you to experience. It takes time for you to have a rich life that is full of experiences. And once you're able to do that, your cooking automatically evolves. So believe in the process. The second thing is, unfortunately, we live in a world where we can fast forward things. And a lot of times we reach the end of the book and it's like reading a murder mystery. While from the last 2 pages, you'll know who committed the murder, but you'll never really get to know what the book held.
Yeah.
So don't get into it just to know who committed the murder. Read the whole book. It's very, very important. It's the most beautiful book you'll ever read, and that's a promise. The third thing is, it is, whether we like it or not, cooking is about basics, and that's what you build on. You build by practicing first and then respecting the basics. So you need to know, practice, and respect the basics to get there. And all 3 stages, the keyword is basics. So stick to the basics, learn to appreciate the basics. That's very important.
I agree. I completely agree. Now that I'm getting a little older and will probably be in college in the next 2 years, 1.5 years, my parents are emphasizing so much on the fact that, we don't care whether you know something else or not. You need to know how to, make basic food. If you need to know how to make rajma chawal for yourself or a sabzi roti. You're not going to want to eat pizza, burger and order out all the time. You need to know the basics, how to cut an onion, fry it, masala kaise banate hain. You need to know all of that because there is no survival without that. It is like literally the one thing that keeps you going is food. You can't survive without knowing how to make it. It's very important.
Yeah. Ultimate happiness, remember, good food is ultimate happiness.
The parents have emphasized it so much. It's like I need to know it, and I'm also now, because now they're making me cook my own food, I have to make at least 2 meals in a week. I have to make it, and I'm starting to learn the importance. I don't need to know how to make all those fancy dishes. I need to know how to do the basics first. It's very
absolutely
important. I'm really realizing the importance of it now.
Absolutely. Good luck with that, Pratna.
Thank you so much. I interviewed recently I interviewed Miss Anahita Dhondi also, and she also said, like you said, the one of the main things to being a chef is respecting the team. And she said the exact same thing, that you have to learn how to work with the team, because it's a very taxing job standing in a hot kitchen all day working, but you have to like be friendly with your team, cooperate with them, because it's the final product that you serve to your customers. It's all a team effort.
Absolutely.
So my last question to you for today is that you have a career which you interact with a lot of interesting people, fun people to work with. So who are the your top 3 people who you have enjoyed working with?
I think Vikas is definitely one of them. I've absolutely had a great time working with Vikas. Then one of my friends and partners in Boston, Shingara Paji, or Pepino, he's there. And then Chef Sanjeev Kapoor is another one.
I think these are very iconic names in the food and beverage industry. You can't have conversation without mentioning your name, Mr. Vikas Khanna's name, and Mr. Sanjeev Kapoor's name. All three, I would say, the iconic trilogy of the food and beverage industry.
Thank you. That's very kind of you.
So, sir, thank you so much for being here today and taking your time out. I really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, Pratna. This was a lot of fun. I wish you all the best, and I wish your peers all the best. I wish everybody who watches this, I wish them all the best. And remember what I said, what I tell myself when I was 15, I would tell myself nothing. I would just learn from myself. Be unreasonable, go for it, and don't let anybody stop you. God bless.
Thank you so much, sir.